Well, hello there. I'm Papa John. Usually, I love to talk about movies that I love that others don't. But today, I'm just going to talk about Batman and some Joker and some others as well. And there are a couple movies in there that I love that others aren't so keen on. So there's still some of that flavor in here. But overall, I love Batman. I love Gotham City. I love the whole aesthetic. And so this tier list is going to include every live-action Batman movie, including the serials from the 40s. It's going to include theatrically released animated movies, not limited releases like The Killing Joke or Return of the Caped Crusaders, but it will include stuff like Mask of the Phantasm and Lego Batman movie. And so it will also include movies that took place in Gotham City, but not necessarily featured or about Batman. So it's somewhat loose with the rules, a little loosey-goosey. I had a set idea of movies I wanted to include, so I had to come up with my own criteria to justify it, to be fair. And I added a couple that originally wasn't on that list, but I got it's an even 20. It's an even 20. So here we go. We're going to tier this up. So first of all, let me go over the tiers. The top of the top, the tippity top, is Strawberries and Creamin'. You know, these are the films that will have you strawberry cream in your pants. They're so good. Okay? You get it? You got it? Let's go. Next up are movies that are marvelous. They're not quite going to have you strawberry cream in your pants, but they are marvelous. And then you have Yup, because these films are just films that exist. They're not bad. They just exist. And then you have Oops, where, you know, they're bad. They're bad. It's more like, oops, it wasn't very good. And then at the very bottom, you have The Nightmares on Peachtree Street. Or in short, just The Nightmares. The Nightmare films. They're not good. They're not good. If y'all understand what these 5 things reference, you're real ones. Let's go and let's get started with Batman serial film from 1943. It's not that great, I'll be honest with you. You know, for its time, okay, the actual filmmaking aspects, they're decent enough, probably. You know, I've seen a few of these serial films. It's not the best one I've seen. I haven't really been a huge fan of any of them, but it's not the best one I've seen. But, I mean, the biggest issue I think this film has in modern, if you view it within a modern lens at least, it's like World War II propaganda. And they're using Japanese villains because we were fighting Japan in the war. It has not aged well. Not at all. I don't think it's quite a nightmare, but it's a film that's kind of, it's an oops. It's definitely an oops. Not a very great little thing there. Very propaganda-like. So let's move on to a step up. Sort of. A little bit of step up. There's not really much racism in this one. And that is Batman and Robin serial from 1949. This one you can have fun with. You know, the first few little serial chapters and the last few. The ones in the middle just kind of drag it out. But, you know, most of the serials do that. And I would say this one, it's not that bad. It's not offensive, really. It's just, you know, Batman in like what looks like Batman PJs running around with Robin to stop the wizard. And this is Vicky Vale's first movie appearance. I believe she was not the female person in the first one, but here in this one, it is Vicky Vale. And her brother Jimmy Vale is in this. She has a brother in this one who's a baddie, sort of, kind of tries to make up for it in the end, though. But there is a scene in here, though, for as little nonchalant as this film is, it's forgettable. You're not going to remember it at all. But there's a little part in this that I love to death in one of the first half of the chapters. And Batman and Robin, they're looking over a corner in a hallway, and Batman just looks at Robin. And he's just like, "They got guns. We can't approach them. They have guns. They could shoot us. So we have to use strategy to take them down. Robin, go distract them." And it's so dead serious. It's not a joke. It's not a joke or anything. It's just dead serious. That's Batman's strategy, is to have Robin distract the people with the guns who can shoot them. I just found that hilarious, how they just deadpan seriousness of just saying our strategy is for you to distract them because they have guns. But yeah, that one's a yup. It just exists. Yup. That one exists, slightly better. There's no racism in this one. And then we're moving on to Adam West, the 1966 Batman the movie, a film that was my introduction to Batman, a film that I grew up on because I am 60 years old, obviously. I had a black and white VHS recording. This is actually a true story. I'm not 60, but it is actually a true story, I grew up on a black and white VHS tape recording. I don't even think it was one that they bought. I think they recorded it off of the VHS, old school style. I still have a lot of nostalgia fun for this. This is one, I think you have to grow up with it to enjoy it. I'll be honest with you, but I enjoy it. There's a couple of those coming up. This is one that has gone back and forth aging-wise. I can watch it today and I still have fun with it. If I would have watched it 7 years ago, I kind of didn't, but I do now again. It just goes back and forth. But like I said, I still have nostalgia fun. It was my introduction to Batman and most of these characters. You get the booms, you get the pows, you get the kablams, you get my fridge making a noise in the background. And, you get all those comic booky things pop up on the screen. There's no schnicked, that'd be awesome. Batman goes up, punch the Riddler, and just pops up and says snicked, like it's Wolverine. Okay, this one, once again, it's a yup. I do think it's quite a bit better than the 1949 Batman and Robin serial, but it's not marvelous. It's not. I love this movie for nostalgic reasons. It's fun for what it is. For a campy Batman movie, I think it's really good at being a campy Batman movie. And I think people forget that Batman is allowed to be campy and funny. Moving on to Tim Burton's Batman from 1989. This one is awesome. So, Jack Nicholson, not Jack Nicholas. The one that's not a golfer, and the one that was in The Shining, one of my favorites, plays a Joker in here. And he does a magnificent, fantabulous job. Got the Prince soundtrack. You got Dancing with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight. It's great. It's a great film. I love it. I wish I was alive during the time to see the hype and just the poster, because it's a very simple poster, but it's very impactful when you see it. Just a Batman logo with the yellow background. It's not necessarily my favorite Batman logo, but it's an impactful logo because it's like an all-black poster then with that on it. Very impactful. I love sort of the setup. The production design is great. The parade scene. It's one that I did grow up with as well. It's great. Maybe Strawberry. I don't think it. I'm sorry. I love it to death, but I don't think it ever had me Strawberry Creamin'. So I'm going to put it in Isn't It Marvelous for now. We'll see where it ends up at the end. I might shuffle it around. I might not. So, following that up with another Tim Burton film with amazing production design and amazing villainy work with Danny DeVito as the Penguin, as Oswald Cobblepot. I genuinely love this film. It's a pretty big December watch for me. I love to watch it around Christmas time. People have their diehards. I do not. I mean, Die Hard's great. I'm not going to say otherwise. But, no. It's Lethal Weapon and Batman Returns when it comes to Christmas action for me. So, I genuinely love this film. I tend to put 89 above it usually, but they're usually neck and neck for me. Because I do think 89 is slightly better objectively, maybe, when you look at the filmmaking quality and all of that. But part of me just loves Batman Returns just a teensy bit more personally. I go back and forth, because tomorrow I'll probably say the opposite. But it's obviously still in the same tier, because isn't it marvelous? And now on to one where my placement might be a teensy bit controversial, I think, because it is a well-loved movie within Batman fans and Batman fandom. And that is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. And don't get me wrong, it's a great animated Batman movie. But it's never really hit me in a big, impactful way. It's one of those movies that I have seen a lot, but I always tend to forget about it like a month after I'd already watched it. It's one I can watch a bajillion times and barely remember it, even after seeing it a bajillion times. You know, there's some good stuff in there, obviously, the voice acting with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. And I think the Phantasm as a villain is a really good character to have as a villain. I think it does have a slight villain problem, not because the villains are bad, but because they just don't seem connected or as cohesive as like why are both villains in the movie? Why can't you just have one of the villains be a great villain and just have a great plot behind that? And the other thing is, it was theatrically released. It wasn't just a limited release, but it does at times, to me at least, might sound controversial, feel like a TV film to me. It just kind of does. I don't know if that's just because it's based off of the TV show, but it does kind of just put it in the yup for me at the top of the yup. It's the top yup, but it's still a yup that exists. Oh boy, these next three, these are gonna be tough. Although one of them I might have some good things to say about, but that doesn't make it a good movie. Okay, next up is Batman Forever. I hate this film. As a child, I loved it. I loved Jim Carrey's Riddler. As a child, he was like my favorite Batman villain in the movies until The Dark Knight came out. And I still think Jim Carrey's performance is great. He's a great Riddler in my opinion. But the movie is dog shit. I hear people defend it. Oh, it's not that. I'm going to say something about the film after this that's going to be controversial that also pertains to this film. I don't like Batman Forever. As controversial as it might sound. I mean, a lot. It's not controversial to say that it's a bad film. A lot of people think that. But the controversial thing is, I think in terms of true Batman films, I think it's the worst. It's the worst. It's a nightmare. I'm sorry. I watch it like, as a child, I genuinely loved this film. I watch it now. I can't wait for it to get over. Jim Carrey makes it bearable and watchable. Tommy Lee Jones is funny, weirdly. Like, if I was going to marathon every film on this tier list, outside of the serials, I'm not going to watch them again, probably. There are only 2 films that I would dread slogging myself to watch again. And Batman Forever is one of them. And the serials, I would dread watching them again, but for different reasons. But that leads us on to the one that everyone else says is the worst Batman film, and that is Batman and Robin. Now, you know, I'm kind of trying to build this defending series where I review movies that I love that other people hate. I'm going to say this. I have plans to do one of those videos about Batman and Robin from 1997. That being said, I still think it's a terrible movie. I just don't think it's nearly as bad as its reputation suggests. I don't think it's the worst Batman movie. I think it's better than Batman Forever. Controversially, I know. But, yeah, you know, it's still terrible. It's still a nightmare. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not. It's still a nightmare. It's still it's still probably top 10 worst DC films. But everyone likes to talk about it like it's top 5. To me, it's not top 5. And when I say top 10, it's probably like around 9 or 10. I genuinely love this film more than most people. That being said, I still think it's a nightmare and a terrible film, but I will gladly rewatch it because it's a blast to fucking rewatch. But it goes to a similar thing I said about the 66 film. Batman's allowed to be campy. He doesn't have to be this dark, serious crime fighter 24/7 in every film. No, he's allowed to be campy and goofy. This did a little too much with that, It didn't pull it off as well. So while I still love the film, I do not think it's a good film. So it's still going to be in nightmares on Peach Street. Still a nightmare on Peach Street. But it's better than Batman Forever. And I will fight you on that. And now we have our first entry that does not actually feature Batman. But it is a film that features a Batman family character. And I wanted to include it on this list. But it is not a good film. I do not recommend you check it out. It is terrible. It's dog shit. And honestly, I'm going to say it's the worst film on here. There's another nightmare of a film that goes in the bottom tier. And it goes in the bottom of the bottom tier. For as much as I was hating on Batman Forever, I even forgot to mention the stupid TV radio bullshit from that film. It does not compare to the nightmare fuel fever dream bullshit that you get from Catwoman 2004. I don't even want to talk about this. It's Halle Berry. You got the makeup salon bullshit. You got the basketball scene. To be fair, I've only seen this film once, and I don't plan on watching it again. I probably will. I skipped it this time though. But now we got those 3 nightmares out of the way. There is light at the end of the tunnel. But we still have like 10 movies left. But moving on to Batman Begins. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was cringy. Now, this is a great film. This is one that it came out when I was a kid, obviously. And it was one of those where I appreciated it more as I got older. Because as a little kid, he watched to play with his toys and his action figures. I gravitated more towards your campy nightmares, like Forever and Robin. This is obviously a better film. This is a film. There's some cutting issues in some of the action scenes, though. That being said, this is one where even more so than 89, I don't know. I'm going to put it in Isn't It Marvelous? Because I don't know how well it will compare in my mind, because there are a couple films on here that I know for a fact will be in the tippity top tier. And on a personal note, I just don't know if this one is quite on the same level as those films. So as of right now, I'm going to put it in Isn't It Marvelous? Chance to move. Chances are, though, it will not. It'll just stay at the top, maybe. No. We'll see. Oh, boy. Now this, right here. This is a film that will have everybody saying... This is a film that's going to have everybody strawberry creaming all over the joint, all over the movie theater. I'm not going to say I did when I saw this in theaters because I was too young to understand that stuff. But this is a film. It was probably not my first time in the movie theaters. No. I'd been to the movie theaters many times by this point. But this was the first theater experience that I truly have a memory of, just like great theater experience memory. But I was supposed to go see, my mom took me to see, I think it was like Kung Fu Panda or something. I don't remember if we got there too late or if it was sold out. I don't remember the exact reason. But I remember my mom really did not want to see The Dark Knight. There's a giant Batman, like cardboard figurine, like life-size thing. And my mom's just, oh no, I don't want to see this movie. Your dad can take you to see it when he's off work or something. I was a very clever little kid that convinced my mom that it's Batman, that 1960s film that I watch all the time. How bad could it be? And it was the greatest movie I've ever seen. Still to this day, it's my favorite movie of all time. So obviously, it's going to have me strawberry creaming. So it goes in that tippity top tier. You can talk ad nauseum about how great this film is. I know there's some people point out a couple plot holes here and there. about like the Joker when he's in the penthouse and all of that. Look, I don't really have an excuse for that, but it does not ruin the film. It's still a great film. It's a great film. Still, to this day, it's amazing. It's amazing. Enough said. Now into Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy, one of my favorite actors, unless he's done something bad. I don't always follow the news. He is in this next film, like I just said, because I repeat myself. The Dark Knight Rises. You can do a Bane voice. I can't do a Bane voice. I don't think. I've never tried. I'm not going to. But yeah, this is a film. I'll be completely honest with you. When I saw this in theaters, I came out of the theater thinking this is even better. And then I kind of realized, no, I still love The Dark Knight so much more. It's a film that I loved a lot more when it first came out than I do today. I still love this film. You know, I feel like it's the one that gets hated on the most within the Dark Knight trilogy, even though all three of those films are genuinely beloved. I think this is the one that's the least beloved, but to me, I still prefer it over Batman Begins. I keep saying this, but I can't really decide, because this is one, when I first viewed it, had me strawberry creaming. I think the issue with this one, though, is it doesn't have that same effect on repeat viewings in the same way that The Dark Knight does. I actually think, though, because that first theater experience was so good, and I loved this so much so that it was competing with The Dark Knight, I'm going to preliminarily put it in strawberries and creamin'. Let's put it at the top. But no, not at the top, but the top tier. It's not better than The Dark Knight. And I want to BVS. This one I have a complicated history with. Very complicated history with. First of all, when I saw this in theaters, I hated its guts. But I feel like I went into the theater wanting to hate it because of the trailer. I thought the first few trailers had me thinking it's going to be the greatest film of all time. And then they had the trailer where they revealed Doomsday, which had me hating it for multiple reasons. One, why are you doing Doomsday in the second movie? Two, why would you spoil that in the fucking trailer? And then in later years, people were talking about how, you have to watch the Ultimate Edition. I watched the Ultimate Edition, and it didn't change my mind on the film at all. The thing that did change my mind on this, because I really just hated this film, I actually had it for years as my least favorite DCEU film, even below Joss Whedon's Justice League. I think I even did a ranking video of that right before Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. But that kind of leads me on to the Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut that released on HBO Max a couple years ago, turned me around on BVS. Because I actually genuinely usually love Zack Snyder as a director. And he's been done dirty, obviously, in a couple of his films. But I did not like this film. But then I came around to it, and I think now this is one that's teetering between oops and yup. But as I'm looking at it, it's better than the 66 Batman. So, I mean, I gotta put it in yup. I think my complicated history with it makes me think it belongs in oops. But when I look at Batman and Robin and 66, it has to be above those. So it goes in yup. And next, we got the Lego Batman movie. This is a great film. Obviously, I've probably said that a bajillion times about most of these movies, but you get all of the cameos from even non-DC characters. You got the Eye of Sauron and just all of that shit. And it's just a really good pop culture film. I think as a Batman movie, it doesn't compare to other films on this list, but as a pop culture movie, it's arguably potentially the best. I'll just say that. That being said, I don't think it's on the top tier. It's definitely marvelous. You know, it's pretty damn good. It's not one I necessarily rewatch as much as others, but that's mostly because it does feel more like a pop culture film and more of a Lego movie than it does a Batman movie. But you still kind of stay true to the characters. You know, the whole Batman and Joker love sort of thing. Do they love each other? Do they hate each other? They hate each other because they love each other. All of that shit. I find it hilarious, and this is how you do campy Batman right. This is how you do campy Batman right. And because of that, it's marvelous. Still not Marvel, though. And moving on to 2019, we have Todd Phillips' Joker. This is a film that the trailer blew me away. And because I didn't know what to expect. Because I was a big Todd Phillips fan. I love The Hangover. I even love The Hangover Part 2. He was going to do the Joker. The Hangover director was going to make a serious Martin Scorsese-esque film about the Joker. But then the trailer came out and it sold me on the premise. I loved this film. I went into the theaters. This is a film I saw like 3-4 times in theaters. I don't regret it at all, even though it's a lot of money. But, yeah, not much to say about this film. Joaquin Phoenix's acting performance was amazing. Nominated for an Oscar. Won an Oscar and gave an awkward speech at the Oscars. It's a great film. The cinematography. It's one of the best scores. I'm sorry, this is one of my favorite all-time scores, and probably my favorite scene out of all this. For as much as The Dark Knight is my favorite film of all time, my favorite scene of all time is the Murray Franklin show theme scene. Basically, the climax of the movie where he shoots him in the head or the chest or whatever. It's great, and that's live. Next, we have Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Now, this is a film I love. A lot of people, I feel like it's a little mixed. Now, I just want to tell you, I'm including this because it takes place in Gotham City and involves, Batman, family members, and all of that. I didn't include Suicide Squad because neither of those two films are really yes, Harley's a main character in them, but it doesn't necessarily fully give her a character story necessarily. I know the first one she kind of does with the Joker and all of that, but they weren't really Gotham-based films, and they weren't really Batman family member centric, even if they were a main character. They weren't really centric in the story per se. Whereas here, it takes place in Gotham City. She is the main character, but for some reason, she doesn't get the title of the film. It's great, though. But moving on to the actual film, like I said, it's great. It's still to this day, I think, my favorite, female-led comic book movie. I absolutely adore this movie. I actually like it better than James Gunn's Suicide Squad. It's a little controversial, I think, but I genuinely love it. It's probably top 3 DCEU for me. I think Ewan McGregor's performance as the Black Mask, while it's not necessarily comic book accurate towards the whole Black Mask mob thing, but nonetheless, he still plays a magnificent villain. You got Victor Zsasz, who's also very good, and the chemistry that Chris Messina and Ewan McGregor have, I think, works really well. And then when it comes to the Birds of Prey, they all do a great job. I was a big fan of Cassandra Cain in this film, obviously. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is amazing. The Huntress I thought was a little stale for the most part, but that's probably the only weakness. Black Canary was great. I genuinely love this film. If any negative I would give towards it is it can sometimes feel a little anticlimactic with the climax, but everything leading up to the climax, the whole final battle thing in the amusement park, it's very creative. I believe they got in one of the John Wick choreographers to help with those action scenes. Is great, and that's why it's marvelous. Yeah, there you go. That's a good spot. Oh, daddy. I mentioned this one earlier when I was talking about BVS. We have Zack Snyder's Justice League. I did include this because, in my opinion, Batman is the main character in this film. Goes around recruiting everybody. And, it's probably the one... Well, the one we'll get to a couple movies from here as well is one I debated including but I kind of just included them mainly so I get 20 and even 20. But also because I love this film. I really wanted to talk about it. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. Way. It's leagues, it's miles, it's bullshit, light years, whatever, ahead of the theatrical cut of Justice League. And I guess this one was not theatrically released, but it's still live action. And yes, it's 4 hours long, but it doesn't feel like it. You start it and you're just hooked until the 4 hours end. You have amazing action scenes, amazing character work. It's gonna have you strawberry creaming, man. I don't know, man. It's amazing. It's so good. It made a previous film in the franchise jump up like 2 tiers for me. It's so good. I love Zack Snyder. He had a couple mishaps with DC, a little bit, middle of the road. Some of that's usually not his fault though. And this one was amazing. I've said that a bajillion times. So we're moving on. This is a film. If you go deep into my archives, back when I was making videos, way back before I restarted this year, I did a trailer reaction to the Batman in 2022's trailer. That being said, that was not my actual first initial reaction, because I watched the first initial reaction because I think, quote me if I'm wrong, it premiered at one of those DC Fandom things. And I don't know if you guys remember the thing from, oh man, this would have been 10, 11 years ago, when the Force Awakens Star Wars trailer came out. And there's a whole clip of a guy in a trailer reaction just started crying. That was me when this trailer came out. Oh man, the trailer had me strawberry creaming. And then the film came out. The way they did the Riddler was amazing. Just the whole story arc, the cinematography, the score. For as much as I love The Dark Knight and love The Dark Knight's little like one-note score and how it fits perfectly for that film, this score is the score for a serious Batman drama. I love it. Robert Pattinson is finally out of the shadow of shiny vampires. He is his own made man as Batman. You have Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. Amazing. The whole action scenes, the mystery. The only issue I would have with this film is the Joker teases. There's the one at the very end, and then you have the deleted scene one. We didn't need that. It was unnecessary. I kind of want to see Batman without the Joker I kind of want to see a Batman trilogy that doesn't have the Joker in it. We're moving on, because that one's obviously a strawberry creamin'. It's great. It's probably my best film of the decade so far, and it's going to take a heck of a film. The closest was maybe Oppenheimer, but it's going to take a heck of a film to overcome it. And next, onto a film that a lot of people seem to hate, or dig on, or whatever. But it's a film that was doomed before it even came out, because because the universe was ending anyway, and that's The Flash. And I know it's a Flash film, not a Batman film. Batman is like a central character in this film and has like a central character arc, and fairly enough, there's decent portion of this film that takes place in Gotham City. I felt like I had to include it. I actually didn't have it on the list, but then I saw it was at 19. I was like, I'll throw it in there because I genuinely want to talk about it, because I do love this film. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's that great, mainly because I just think it's rushed. And I think they tried to do too much. They tried to squeeze almost a trilogy into one movie, and it feels like that. But I think they did a good job, as good as they could have done to pull that off. And that's why I still kind of defend it. Yes, there are some mistakes in there because of that. There's some rushing and pacing issues. But I genuinely have a great time watching it. And that is why, honestly, it's still a yup. It's a yup, top of yup. I'll put it above Phantasm. Yeah, why not? But it's below the Lego Batman movie. I'm not going to put it in Marvelous. If there's a tier between Marvelous and Yup, I feel like that's where it belongs. But I don't have that tier. So I'm going to put it at the tippity top of Yup. The Yuppity Yup. Moving on to the last one. Maybe the most controversial film on this tier list. And that is Joker, Folie, Deux. I already made a video about the fact that I genuinely loved this film. Everybody's hating on it. Everybody's dog shitting it. Well, most everybody. I got quite a few comments that agree with me. That being said, most people, they're hating on this film so much. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm not going to say they're wrong. I can be wrong, you can be wrong, and we can both still be right. Because that's how art works. It is subjective. And I'm a robot. So, Joker, Folie, Deux, I think is marvelous. If you want the full reason why, you can check out a video I made last month defending it. But overall, I think it tells a great story about how, like, Arthur himself is going through identity crisis because he was forced to become the Joker. Because the Joker's an idea. He's not a singular person. And he was forced to embody that idea in the first film. And now everyone's associating that with him. And he still has that within him, like inside of him. And so he's fighting these different identities in this identity crisis that he's going through. And I think it does a marvelous job doing that. It does a very marvelous job doing that. I don't think it's quite Strawberries and Creamin. It's not nearly as good as the 2019 film or the other three in that tier. But I can already see a change I might make looking at this. But, like I said, Folie à Deux is an amazing film. You can tell me I'm wrong in the comments, and you can tell me why. But I will defend it till the day I die. And now, I'm looking through this, and I have to move The Dark Knight Rises down. Because when I saw it in theaters, it had me Strawberry Creamin'. Over the years, it hasn't had the same effect. It's still amazing, though. But I might controversially put it not just down into the marvelous tier, but I think I'm going to put it below Joker, Folie à Deux. For as much as I will say that is nowhere near the same quality as the 2019 Joker, I still think... as of right now, I'm putting it at the top of Isn't It Marvelous? I know a lot of people are going to hate me for that and say it belongs in the fucking nightmares. So that is the tier list. I might kind of rank them a little bit here, you know. I kind of did that as I was placing them as well. But yeah. So in last place, we got Catwoman. And then we got Batman Forever. Then we have Batman and Robin. Yay, because it's terrible, but fun as fuck to watch. And awesome because of that. Fight me. But that's the nightmare tier. And then in Oops, we just have one film. And it's the first one. It's the one from 1943, the racist one. Other than the racism, it doesn't do much offensively in terms of filmmaking and all of that. But yeah, it's an oops because it makes some decisions, being World War II propaganda. And then the ones that just exist, you know, they exist. They're not offensive to anything really. They just kind of exist, you know. Yep. And we got the Batman and Robin serial from 1949. You know, I think the Wizard is actually a cool character. They do some weird things in there where they kind of tell you who the Wizard is, and then throughout the entire thing, they're just telling you this guy's the Wizard, and the good guys just don't know it yet, you know. And then in the last few serials, and then in like the last couple, they're like make like this whole thing on like telling the audience like, you don't know who he is. We told you who he is, but you don't know who he is. Like this whole mystery around who he is. And then it's revealed to be I guess a shock plot twist ending that it wasn't who we told you it was. No. It's a WWE storyline. No. Anyway. And then you got Batman 66. Fun movie to watch. You got BVS, which I wanted to put in Oops, but I can't put it below 66 and the 1949 serial. And then you got Mask of the Phantasm, which I just think's forgettable. It doesn't do anything bad. I see why people love it, but to me it's always just been forgettable. And then you have The Flash, which is kind of the opposite of Mask of the Phantasm. It's not forgettable, it's just extremely rushed. But I think they did really good with what they had to do and what they were given, or with the premise at least, doing a Flashpoint film while also doing a Flash origin film, even though one should be the first in a trilogy, one should be the last in the trilogy, and you had to squeeze a trilogy worth of storyline, sorry about that, into one movie. And they did pretty much as good of a job as they could have done, because there's also some other behind-the-scenes issues going on with that as well. And now on to the second tier, the movies that are marvelous, that you just ask, oh, wasn't that marvelous? And we got the Lego Batman movie, which I think I'm going to keep it at the bottom of the tier, just because, like I said earlier, it's more of a pop culture film than it is a Batman movie, even though it says Batman movie in the name. But then we got Batman Returns, and we got Batman 89. They're neck and neck for me. I think Batman Returns has a better reason to rewatch every year because of the whole Christmas thing. But I think Batman 89 is probably a better film, objectively speaking at least. But they're neck and neck. They're right there. And then we have Birds of Prey and the fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn, which I just love to watch this film. Great action sequences. I love it. And so it's there. And I'm not going to move it. Yes, it's above Tim Burton Batman. And then we got Batman Begins. We got The Dark Knight Rises. I'm keeping them in that order because I pretty much will always like Dark Knight Rises more than Batman Begins. Even though I love both of them. They're both great, amazing films. Neck and neck, but I will always prefer Rises. And then we have Joker Folie. This one, it's not going to drop tiers necessarily. But I could see it going down the ranking of this second tier, like later on, if I ever did this again. But as of today, I'm putting it at the top of the marvelous tier. I take that back. I'm going to put Rises at the top. Recency bias might have played a part in me putting Folie à Deux at the top. So I'm going to take that into account and move it down one spot. And then we have the movies. The four movies that will have you strawberry creaming all over your couch while you're watching them. So I hope you're glad that I put that image in your head. And we got Joker 2019, which I'm actually going to move up. So, which means we have no, I have no idea on these two. So we have Joker 2019, and we have Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know which order I want to put them on. Honestly, it depends on my mood. If I'm in the mood for an epic superhero, kind of dark superhero team up with epic proportions and just this huge, like, war piece. I've never read that, so I have no idea if that applies, but lengthwise of a film, then I'm going to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. But if I want to watch a descent into madness, Martin Scorsese-esque king of comedy film, I'm going to watch fucking Joker. So they're films that I don't know which one I actually prefer. I think Joker, based on length, is easier to rewatch. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep the change that I made like 2 seconds ago, and have Zack Snyder's Justice League be the fourth one. We'll have Joker. You know what? No. I'll put the one that doesn't actually take place in Gotham City in the top 3, even though this is a Gotham City tier list. And then we have the Batman 2022, and we have The Dark Knight. By far, by far. It's not by far, but they are clearly, in my humble opinion, the top 2. And The Dark Knight, I will say mainly just for personal reasons and nostalgia reasons, is my number 1. I do think there is a very compelling argument that could be made for Batman 2022, and I'm not going to disagree with anybody. I'm not going to argue with anybody that wants to put that at number one. I just think I've been watching The Dark Knight for so many years, multiple times a year, that I can't think of another movie that would top it at this point. The Batman 2022 came very damn close, probably the closest in probably ever, but that's where we're at. Dark Knight at number one, The Batman 2022 at number two, Zack Snyder's Justice League. You know what? Zack Snyder's Justice League and Joker tied at number three, because those are the four movies that will have you strawberry creaming. So that was a long video, long takes. I had my little this thing to get me through some great value Mio ripoff energy in a with tap water in a Powerade bottle. I'm not trying to trick you. It's not Powerade. To get me through this long video, that was an awkward laugh. Moving on. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. I don't really care at this point. I don't fucking care. Engage and comment your tier list in the comment section down below. I've lost the ability to talk. So comment in the comment section down below on your thoughts. Why am I wrong about Joker Folie à Deux? Why is The Dark Knight a nightmare and not a strawberry creamer? So just tell me in the comment sections down below. And you know what? Yeah, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I've been Papa John. And as always, keep it hot. But yeah, you get the Kung Pao. This ain't Chinese. You get the you get the booms and the pows.